Welcome back. Well, it was the wedding of the year and a Polish prince captured it on camera. Earlier, I spoke to the official royal wedding photographer, Alexi Lubomirski, about the ceremony and spending time with the royal couple. I started by asking him what it was like to be asked to photograph such an enormous event.
It was daunting and amazing and wonderful. It all came about really, I took the engagement pictures of the couple. And that all came about very bizarrely. I was actually in England pacing around a hospital while my mother was undergoing a 10-hour operation to remove a brain tumor. After 10 hours, we were waiting for the phone call from the doctor to see whether my mother had made it, because he was saying it was 50-50. And the phone rang, and we all pounced on it, and this voice said, "Hello, is that Alexi? This is Kensington Palace calling." I thought it was my friend pranking me at first, so I was about to use some rather blue language on him. And it turned out that it was a palace, and they asked if I would be interested in doing a project with the couple. So obviously, when my mother woke up an hour later, this was very good tonic for her to get better. And in 2 days' time, I went to see the couple, and we talked about how I would approach the shoot if I was to get the job. And as we were talking, I was, explaining some ideas and saying I want it to be natural and organic. And as I was talking, they were just the cutest couple sitting next to each other on the sofa. They were constantly sort of just knocking each other and holding each other's hands. And so I said to them, "Listen, this is exactly what I want. You guys are adorable right now. You're so cute. If you just let me take my camera and follow you around the gardens and you just be you, I'll just be that weird person following you with the camera."
You managed to really capture some very intimate moments, what seemed to be very intimate moments, both in the engagement photos but the wedding photos. And the one that really caught my eye was the two of them on the steps, wrapped in each other's arms, laughing. Do you remember what they were laughing about?
I think it was just a mixture of relief and happiness and elation. We had already done the large setup pictures, like the whole family and the bridesmaids pictures and a few other setups. And we had gone then to the reception after the wedding, and then the promise was that if they had energy and time, we would be able to go out into the rose garden and take some intimate pictures for, I think we had maybe 3.5 minutes to do something.
Wow.
So
that's a sign of a good photographer to capture that in such a short amount of time.
But I mean, look at the ingredients and you realize that it was just such a blessing of a job, because you walk into the rose garden, the sun is setting over the back of Windsor Castle, which is in the background. You have this incredible light. You have this couple who are in love, in their wedding attire, and it's just all the ingredients are there, and all you have to do is press the button.
There was a lot of pressure on them throughout the day, a lot of attention on them. Did you see any nerves? What sort of insight can you give us?
My wife and I noticed when we were sitting in the chapel that in the chapel you felt like it was a very intimate English wedding. I say English because of all the hats, but it was, you just felt like it was a very intimate setting. And it was only when you sort of raised your eyes above all these hats that you suddenly saw the cameras, sort of surveying everybody. And then you realized that it wasn't just you, few hundred people, it was billions of people watching. But they're so in tune with each other, and I think that they always spoke about their interest, how their common goals about sort of doing good and using their platforms for good. And I think that they have such a sort of drive and a direction together.
They certainly seem to share the same interests you do in terms of your charity work and the platform you have. And you speak a lot about wanting diversity in your work and diversity on the front covers of magazines. And you've shot for all the biggest magazines in the world. How do you think Meghan might change that going forward?
I think it's going to be huge. I mean, I think it's just another wonderful factor in this movement towards, a better world, I think. I brought out a book called Diverse Beauty because I was frustrated about how every magazine would not let me shoot dark-skinned models for the majority of the stories. And so I did this book as a way to show people that you could have different ethnicities, different skin colors, different religions, and you could still do incredibly inspirational, aspirational images and fashion images. And I think with Meghan and the position that she's in, it's just another fantastic reminder or a wake up to everybody that, we are all one people, and that it's a fantastic breath of fresh air to the English royal family. I think it's just evolved them one step further. They're moving with the times, which is great. And yeah, it's wonderful.
You, of course, have shot both with animals and, of course, children. A lot of photographers are told don't shoot with either, it's hard work. But also the royal children, 10 kids under the age of 8 for that beautiful bridal shot. How did you bribe them to all look at the camera and smile at the same time?
When I was setting up the shot and I moved the Queen and Prince Philip into their chairs, and as I was doing that, I could hear the hustle bustle behind me of all the kids coming in. And I overheard one of the maybe it was a nanny or it couldn't be anybody, and I overheard the word Smartie. Now Smartie is an English candy, which is very much like an M&M, tiny chocolate thing.
I like Smarties.
Is that, there you go. And I overheard the word Smartie, and all of a sudden the kids were quiet, and then I heard this lady said, "Who is going to have one Smartie?" And you heard, me, who's going to have 2 Smarties? So as soon as all the kids came on, I managed to get a few shots of them first because they were sort of bemused by what was going on and they were sort of still. But then as soon as attention span started to wane, I used the Smartie trick and I said, "Who likes Smarties?" And everybody raised their hand, and all of a sudden they were the big smiles, and so that was the shot.
That was the trick, the Smarties. Candy works every time, right?
Apparently so. At least for me it does.
Will there be an ongoing relationship with them? Will we see you photograph their child, perhaps, their first child?
No idea. I mean, to be honest, I was more than happy with just having shot the royal engagement pictures. So I was never expecting another call. That was already the highlights of my career. So now I've just had 2 highlights in 6 months. So I'm just a happy chap right now.
An absolute pleasure interviewing the royal wedding photographer, and you can see more of that interview online